Welcome to Friday Takeaway Noonday Edition. I'm Nadia Hassan. He's Sulhi Azman. It is June the 3rd. Yeah, exactly. So we've actually started, Sulhi, the second half of the year.
Yes.
And I had an interesting conversation with a Standard Chartered banker recently. I told him, do you think that 2016 in general is a wash? You know, do people care anymore? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think people still care because there's a lot of things have been happening around. I mean, the year so far, 2 quarters have lapsed, and also it's going to be 6 months and 155 days to be exact. So a lot of things have been happening. Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know if people are actually interested. It's like, most people say that the third and fourth quarter, I think it's shaping up to be more that people are going to do that because seems to be almost nothing going along.
Right.
But I don't know if people are just going to write off 2016 and say, hey, wake me up when 2017 comes. But anyway, regardless of that, 75% of the companies on Bursa have announced their first Q results. And we'll talk about what they said in a minute, but just a brief look at what actually happened globally. Malaysia this afternoon MITI is expected to announce export numbers. It is expected to grow to 2.6%. Not great, but not bad.
Not bad. I mean, at least the optimists would say that there will still be some growth, but at a moderate or slower pace as compared to the previous one.
Yeah, so that seems to be the indication. But of course, this kind of stuff doesn't really move market, moves sentiment a little bit.
Right.
Ringgit does move. It says it's depreciated by further 1.75%. It's 4.15 now.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about that is I think a lot of people are, because again, we said it's June, it's Fed hike decision.
Yes.
A lot of people seem to be pulling their money back into the States because they seem to think that it will hike. But other people have said, hey, hold your horses, not yet.
Yeah, correct. I mean, analysts and economists have been saying that, Janet Yellen, when is Janet Yellen going to pull her trigger, basically, for the Fed rates? And the discussion has been continuing since last year, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. Because I don't know, because we all looked at job numbers and whether they're as great as they say, but it still seems to be mixed. OPEC was a big thing yesterday.
Yes, it
lot
was.
of men in very big robes talking about oil prices. And they failed to reach agreement on output ceiling. What I saw last was that Saudi ministers did not say they would start putting up more capacity, but they wouldn't discount it.
And here's his word: we will be very gentle in our approach and make sure we don't shock the market in any way. But I think Saudi Arabia has been pumping in so much oil into the system, it caused a glut.
But it already has a glut, you see. But
Right.
the thing is, because it got to a point where everybody was cutting off their nose to spite their face, that we did get the $50 oil. So
Yeah.
I think people are hoping for that as the new normal rather than anything else. They are still, like, for example, locally, because we did see oil and gas results, which we talked about last week.
Right.
They said that their public bank is still very neutral. They still think there's continued pressure on oil prices. I think that's going to be the case. One quick thing before we actually move on, the fact is European Central Bank met yesterday. Draghi did not do anything huge, but they did leave the interest rates unchanged. Europe is still wondering about Brexit. I think that's one of their main kind of concerns. And I saw a very interesting report by UOB, how they said that if Brexit happens, the FTSE, which is London Stock Exchange,
Right.
might drop by 10%.
10%,
Yeah,
that's
that's
a
what they
huge
think.
one.
That's what they actually think. And then Japan delays its sales tax. Again, I don't know if that's actually going to help. But yeah, something to keep an eye on for the week. Just move on to hot stocks, what's actually moving. Just as we went in, I saw KESM Industries, which does manufacturing.
Semiconductor?
Yeah, well, they do some manufacturing. Up 15% to 468. They had really good numbers yesterday. Their net profit actually jumped by 350%. No small change.
Yeah, 15% jump and increase. I mean, some investors might be making some good money there.
Oh, we don't know.
KSM.
If you're already moving like 15% and it's already 4 ringgit and some change, it's a bit difficult to kind of say, but it's an interesting thing to look at, because I saw a couple of manufacturing guys on top gainers, including Panasonic as well.
Right.
I don't know if they're all ahead of the export numbers. No more AGMs this week. We're going into fasting month next week already, so most people would have done theirs. So far, no big scandals. I don't think there were any big scandals. We attended some, didn't we?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the AirAsia, for instance, this week, right, Tony Fernandes was caught in the controversy because he said that he has received unsolicited offer for Asian Aviation Capital for
Which
$1
is their plane
billion,
leasing, yeah.
$1 billion US dollars, basically, and the stock has rose week on week. AirAsia Berhad rose from 240 ringgit last Friday to about 2.45 ringgit yesterday's close. Trading volume was very high, Nadia. 92 million shares for AirAsia Berhad and AirAsia X. It's very.
Didn't Tony also say that he thinks the shares were undervalued?
I think
he
he's
always
that.
says the shares are undervalued.
Yeah.
But I think airlines is having a good time because of oil, not a good time because of currency.
Yes.
But airlines is massively volatile. It's very difficult to kind of say. And I have shares in X, but I don't have shares in AirAsia. The thing about this whole leasing, if he does sell it, who knows, $1 billion US, unless you're made of like steel and don't bend to look at such an offer, it might come back in special dividends. Maybe that's what actually drove it, because he said the words special dividends. Who knows, right?
Yeah, and investors are clearly excited. And CME Research has an ad call on AirAsia Berhad, target price of RM3.13 per share.
So as we go into like the FBM KLCI, right, it was green as we went in, closed at 1630.5, but that's yesterday. It opened a little bit higher. You will see a lot of trading in the, at this point. So yeah, it's still moving, and but whether it's going to stay that way, we still have a whole afternoon, although I don't know if it's school holidays and everybody's gone off and basically gotten ready for the weekend. It has been, I don't know if it's been on an upward trend. I mean, it did have some good spots, but it's always been laggy. It is the news, the political smell tends to frighten away investors.
Yeah, people talking about 1MDB, for instance, the missed interest payment or limited cross default on its bonds.
Yeah.
You talk about the instability in the country and so on. So these are some of the macro factors that has affected the FBM KLCI. And interestingly, MRF Research reduced their target to 1750 points this year from an earlier forecast of 1,800 points.
Foreign investors sold their position, definitely down to 709 million from 1.16 billion. If that's not a sign, I don't know what is. Whether or not they'll change their mood next week, that one we also will not know. But in terms of earnings, yes, it's been slow, tepid, slow, muted, dismal, whatever word you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much Batman v Superman bad. I have no idea. So the fact is, it's below expectations, and it's a poor 1Q result season. Whether it's going to get better, it really depends, because as Afin says, the stock market has entered its 7th consecutive quarter of earnings decline. So our covers actually deal with a lot of this, and you can watch behind the scenes with our colleague Charlotte, who actually talks about why are the big losers are there, and where it all comes from. It's been a lot to digest. We'll keep doing it as the weeks kind of go along. But yeah, so far this morning seems like the manufacturing guys are going. AirAsia seems to be on the push and undervalued. I will have to see about that. Anyway, just to finish up for the thing, let's look what's actually going to happen next week. Of course, I think fasting month starting, so people are going to be slightly quiet. You will see slow leak of some kind of results. And you have other stuff like Bank Negara will announce foreign exchange reserves on Tuesday. On Friday, MITI will announce IPI numbers as well. More economic, not so much market. But let's see if anybody takes any kind of sign. Japan will announce 1Q GDP and machinery numbers. That'll be a very big thing for Abe. And 3 countries, Australia, India, and South Korea, all announced their decision on monetary policy. Whether that affects us, no, but it'll affect sentiment. So yeah. Anyway, that's all for us. If you actually want more, there's always the paper, both the physical. You can go to our online website, which has been under attack. Yes, we acknowledge that. There is another site up. You just put a 2 after the www. I'm Nadia Hassan. He's Sulhi Azman. Have a good weekend. Have a good afternoon of trading, guys.
Good luck.